So are you getting left behind? Or are people just trying to sell you on the idea that you have to use AI even when it doesn't actually make sense to do so? They know this can't be right because
it's just none of that was true. It's like nobody is more prosperous because of the girl boss feminism era. We've seen tons of female leaders be exploitative and just mirror all the things that we hated about the men in power, and nothing actually changed.
Hold the line. Hold the freaking line. Welcome to Manosphere Highlights Daily, where we call out feminist foolishness, expose women's hypocrisy, dismantle double standards, and stand up for men. Oh boy. Gentlemen, watch this closely because it's the same playbook running twice. They told women to become girl bosses. They told women careers were liberation. They told women to lean in. Now they're telling women to lean into AI, the very technology designed to replace the work they spent 50 years telling women would set them free. You couldn't write a better plot twist if you tried. Let's get into it.
Ain't that a man?
women are being flooded with this same message from influencers, founders, and self-help personalities.
I think it's time to learn about AI.
Learn AI, use AI, adopt faster, don't fall behind. Reese Witherspoon, the book club host and Legally Blonde herself, says it's time for women to use AI, and then she immediately faced a massive affront of criticism from authors and screenwriters and fans because it felt so wildly out of touch. Sophia Amoruso, the girl boss herself, also called for more women to use AI and then also faced some pretty aggressive backlash to it. All of this is a perfect distillation of the cultural moment we're in. AI adoption is increasingly being framed as an essential tool for empowerment, ambition, and survival, especially for women, even as the technology is increasingly associated with surveillance, labor displacement, deepfakes, and harassment. It should come as no surprise that many of the people who are championing this also championed girl boss feminism. The original girl boss era told women that if systems were unequal or exploitative, the answer was to optimize harder inside of them. It stood on the shoulders of decades of genuinely useful and powerful feminist movements, but it proved to be unhelpful at best. The gender wage gap has not closed since the girl boss era. In fact, it has widened. And now AI culture is recycling that same playbook. Use the tool, brand yourself better, stay relevant, and if you hesitate, you're the problem.
The foolishness. Notice something. Yesterday, it was Learn Excel. Today, it's Learn AI. Tomorrow, it'll be whatever the next productivity revolution is. The product changes. The sales pitch never does, because the goal was never empowerment. The goal was productivity. And hold on, she casually drops in the claim that the gender wage gap has widened, and then immediately moves on. But widened compared to what? Same occupation, same hours worked, same overtime, same years of experience, same job title? Those questions matter because the raw earnings gap and the adjusted pay gap are not the same thing. Once you control for occupation, hours, experience, and other relevant factors, the gap becomes much smaller. That's why economists distinguish between the two. Without establishing what that statistic actually means, she immediately pivots straight into AI. Sit with that before you buy the next pitch from the same people. The foolishness.
In the cut, Angelina Chapin calls this the girl bossification of AI.
I felt like we really needed to dig into why women like Reese, rich, wealthy, white celebrities, were adopting this sort of vibe towards AI. And she's not the only one. So Mel Robbins also made a video. Demi Moore, Sandra Bullock have been interviewed about AI. And the echoes of sort of that 2000s, 2010 hustle culture, girl boss culture, which stem from Lean In, are just unavoidable. And obviously we know this technology is so complicated, and there's so many moral issues with it. Any kind of inequality this technology seems to exacerbate. So the difference between how she was sort of like, this is just a fun thing that we should all adopt, And for anyone who's been paying attention, the reality and the implications of adopting this technology were just mind-blowing to me.
It shouldn't be mind-blowing if you've been paying attention. What do Reese Witherspoon, Mel Robbins, Demi Moore, and Sandra Bullock all have in common? They've all been repositioned, not as beauty icons anymore, as authority figures. The product changed, the business didn't. Hollywood, publishing, and corporate America still need them selling something because influence is an asset that keeps generating revenue long after the last product line stopped working. The show must go on.
Take Sheryl Sandberg's feminist organization Lean In, which is focusing on fighting the gender gap in AI adoption, even commissioning research papers on the topic.
What Sheryl Sandberg is doing is using words that mirror real systemic issues like wage gap and saying AI gap, and sort of using this academic feminist language that makes you actually think, oh, this is a businesswoman. This isn't a celebrity. This isn't some self-help guru everyone dunks on. This is like Lean In, the organization that cares about women.
Notice how this works. Take something that women emotionally respond to, the wage gap, and repackage it as an AI gap. Same emotional weight, same academic feminist language. Brand new product to sell you. Women are falling for the same okie doke again. The foolishness.
Many of these women's reasonings, if we take them at face value, is that AI is being adopted everywhere and primarily by men. In order to stay afloat in this ever-competitive job market, women need to adopt AI. Women are getting left behind. And there's some truth to that, right? AI is being adopted at a record pace. But in many places, it's also being dropped just as quickly. An MIT study released last year said that 95% of corporate AI investments have generated zero return so far. In short, the problem AI promised to solve isn't getting solved with AI. There's another nugget of truth in this. Men do lead every single one of the largest AI companies in the world. Sam Altman is the CEO of OpenAI, Dario Amodei is the CEO of Anthropic, Mark Zuckerberg is the CEO of Meta. But for what it's worth, men also lead most major companies across industries, like fashion brands and wineries and landscaping.
Here's where the irony becomes impossible to ignore. Girlboss Feminism spent decades telling women that careers were independence. Then AI arrives and starts replacing exactly those white-collar jobs first. Ironically, the technology isn't threatening traditional masculinity first. It's threatening the very career ladder feminism encouraged women to climb. Then, she also mentions that men lead the biggest AI companies. Yes, they do. But that's also true across engineering, aerospace, heavy industry, semiconductor manufacturing, and dozens of other technical fields. The interesting question isn't why are men there? It's why didn't feminism produce more women there after 70 years?
So there's the question of whether this technology is actually as powerful and helpful as it purports to be. There are differing opinions on this. It's pretty great at pattern recognition and repetitive tasks, but it's also pretty great at making stuff up and hallucinating. Some researchers argue that AI isn't even that powerful either. There is potential for huge biases in AI because the models are built off of human input, and Eugenia Rowe, an assistant professor of the Department of Computer Sciences at Virginia Tech, argues that increased dependence on technology like AI could lead to a loss of human connection and can even reduce critical thinking. And of course, there's the impact AI has on the environment, as data centers use a huge amount of electricity to run and then water to cool them down. Ultimately, this conversation about AI is a great example of technochauvinism, a term coined by Meredith Broussard in her book More Than a Glitch.
This is the idea that technological solutions are superior to others. And instead, what I argue is that we should use the right tool for the task, because sometimes the right tool for the task is undoubtedly a computer. And sometimes the right tool for the task is something simple like a book in the hands of a child sitting on a parent's lap. One is not inherently better than the other. And so we see a lot of techno-chauvinism at work in the AI discourse right now, especially when people say things like, you have to use AI or get left behind.
Listen to how the language changes. Technology isn't a tool anymore. It's oppressive, patriarchal, colonial, harmful. Here's the correction. AI has no will of its own. It reflects whoever trains it. Amazon's own hiring AI got scrapped for penalizing resumes with the word women's because it was trained on a decade of male-heavy data. That's not AI favoring men. That's whoever's hands are on the keyboard. Competence, not conspiracy.
So are you getting left behind? Or are people just trying to sell you on the idea that you have to use AI even when it doesn't actually make sense to do so? Plenty of women are calling bullshit.
The people who make this stuff are losers.
They know this can't be right because
It's just none of that was true. It's like nobody is more prosperous because of the girl boss feminism era. We've seen tons of female leaders be exploitative and just mirror all the things that we hated about the men in power, and nothing actually changed. So when they're saying, get on board with AI, this is yet another thing that the guys are doing that you need to succeed, you just think, well, I don't want to operate within that world. If I really want to be feminist and progressive, what I should be doing is questioning this technology.
This is pure gold! That might be the most honest sentence in the entire video because she's admitting something feminism almost never says out loud. Replacing male CEOs with female CEOs doesn't change capitalism. It just changes who's sitting in the chair.
and it makes sense that women would question this technology. Beyond AI being associated with surveillance, labor displacement, deepfakes, and harassment, these systems also exploit the planet and ethnic minorities and indigenous communities and more. Women have a long history of resisting these kinds of oppressive systems. And at its core, this argument isn't even really true. Men are not using AI much more than women are. According to a study from the Pew Research Center, while men are slightly more likely than women to say they use chatbots every single day, and women are more skeptical about AI, men and women use AI chatbots at about the same rate.
Here's the part this video actually gets right and then completely fails to finish. Recent research does show usage rates converging. Men and women are turning to chatbots at similar frequency now. Fine, but real published studies also show men and women use these tools completely differently once they're in them. Men engage more often, across more applications, and see it as directly relevant to their career. Women lean toward writing and text tasks. And here's the one that should actually worry you. A controlled, longitudinal study found women were more likely than men to see their real-world socialization decline after weeks of chatbot use. Same participation rate, completely different outcome. That's the sentence this entire video needed and never said.
I would check out what are the speaker's affiliations. So are they getting paid by one of the big tech companies to say something like this? Has their foundation gotten a particularly large donation from an AI company? Or are they friends with the people who run the AI companies?
Microsoft paid Mel Robbins through a partnership to talk about AI in her Instagram post, which she does disclose in her caption. And she's not the only one. Sheryl Sandberg's venture capital firm, Sandberg Bernthal Venture Partners, have invested in at least 2 AI startups this year alone. And she backed a health tech startup that uses AI in 2023. Now, of course, not all women involved with this are directly getting paid. It seems like Reese Witherspoon, Sandra Bullock, and Demi Moore are just doing it for the love of the game. But they aren't doing it in a vacuum. AI is pouring a lot of money into the political system in the US, both by lobbying and through dark money. Anthropic spent $1.56 million last quarter on congressional lobbying. OpenAI spent $1.02 million in the same time period, and all of this is according to Issue 1, a bipartisan political reform group. In all, in just the first 3 months of 2026, 11 top tech companies, including Alphabet, Microsoft, Anthropic, and OpenAI, spent $20 million on lobbying. These are massive increases from the previous quarter.
Notice the pattern. Girlboss feminism ran on money from somewhere. This runs on money from somewhere too. Tens of millions in lobbying in a matter of months from the same handful of companies these same women are now fronting for. You weren't the client the first time around. You're not the client this time either.
All of the problems that were easy to solve with technology, with digital technology, have been solved. Okay, and now we're left with the really hard ones. And something like racism or gender bias is a really, really hard problem. And people have not managed to solve it meaningfully in however many years people have been on the planet. And I'm not optimistic that Silicon Valley types, no matter how brilliant they are, I'm not convinced that they can write code to solve a problem that complicated and long-standing that affects billions and billions of people, right?
This is where I actually agree. Technology doesn't solve human nature. Better software doesn't automatically create better people. That's probably the strongest point made in the entire video.
We all know who Reese Witherspoon is, right? Reese? So she is facing a bit of backlash, though, right now. Why? Well, she was urging women, embrace AI. That's what she's telling us now. Listen to what the actress and book club founder said on Instagram.
I was with 10 women at a book club yesterday, and I said to the 10 of them, how many of you guys use AI? And only 3 of them used AI. So if 3 out of 10 women are the only ones using AI, that means 70% of that group is not keeping up.
The foolishness. Watch how fast an anecdote turns into an emergency. 10 women, 1 dinner party, 3 use AI. And somehow that becomes proof women are in danger of being left behind. That's not how serious arguments are made. That's how products are sold. Yesterday, the message was lean in. Today, it's learn AI. Tomorrow, it will be something else. The technology changes. The sales pitches never does.
This is going to be a collective solution, and we need to change the world at the same time that we change code, right? And so in terms of women using AI, what I would say is that AI is not inevitable, and you should use technology for the things that it makes sense to use technology for. And the things that it does not make sense to use technology for, don't use it and don't get suckered into it. Don't get pressured into it.
Here's where I think she's mistaken. AI isn't waiting for society to reach a consensus. China isn't waiting. Silicon Valley isn't waiting. Open source developers certainly aren't waiting. The genie is already out of the bottle. The real question isn't whether AI arrives. It's whether you learn to work with it before someone else does. There's one question this video never asks. After 70 years of feminism, where are the female pioneers? The only one who comes to mind is Fei Li.
I do travel around the globe. I think the excitement, the energy, and also, frankly, the ambition of many regions and many countries in the world of wanting to have a role in AI, wanting to catch up or even come ahead in certain areas of AI, that is pretty universal.
Not the influencers, not the marketers, not the CEOs, the pioneers. Who built the transformer architecture? Who built CUDA? Who built the inference engines? Who created the breakthroughs that made this entire conversation possible? Because if equality simply meant equal opportunity, that's a question worth asking. AI isn't replacing women. AI is replacing work that can be automated. And the uncomfortable reality is that automation doesn't care about ideology. It doesn't care about feminism. It doesn't care about capitalism either. It replaces whatever creates the most economic value. The people who thrive won't be the ones demanding exceptions. They'll be the ones building the tools, owning the systems, or learning to work alongside them. That's a much colder reality than the girl boss movement promised. But reality has a habit of showing up anyway. Listen to all, follow none.
Manosphere, we working. Protect yourself at all times. This video has officially been highlighted.